How we doing, everybody? How are we doing? Today is Monday, July the 26th, 2021, and just bringing you this version of the Real Estate Note Talk. Today, we're just going to focus in on rental properties versus note investing. I'm going to give you some of the, pros and cons of each and why, if you are a rental property owner, you may want to consider going into into note investing because of the some of the pros and cons that each of them have. And we'll just do a short video. We usually not here too long, usually about 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes at the most. We just try to get these little talks in regards to real estate note investing, give you little things to consider, and hopefully, you'll want to learn more and get involved in real estate note investing. If after you see this video, if you want more information, you can go to the YouTube channel Abundant Capital Group. Put it actually in the chat. So if anybody wants to, go there, and there's a series that we've done on real estate note investing. We've done about 5 parts of the series. It's probably going to take maybe another somewhere to 3 to 5 more parts to finish up, but you'll find a lot of information there. It'll give you some foundational information on real estate note investing. And again, if you want to, get involved, it should give you some good information there on how to do that. And so you can kind of go through that series. We'll be adding more to it as we go along. So, but I thought that just trying to give people the difference between rental properties and note investing, especially now coming through the pandemic, a lot of people maybe started to rethink rental property investing. A lot of tenants have been able to stay in the properties without having to pay, and that mortgage still needed to be paid by that homeowner of that investment property. So that has caused people to maybe rethink, their real estate investing strategy. As a note investor, you're actually the side of the bank. So you're not actually owning the home, but you do still receive payments, monthly payments as a note investor. And then obviously you had a lot of moratoriums when it came to people paying their mortgage and things like that. But if you were a note investor, at least you didn't have to continue to make payments to a bank if you own the note. You were the one that could go to the owner of that particular property and see what could be worked out. Maybe they couldn't make the full payment. Maybe you could have given them some options. The forbearance agreement that a lot of banks gave, you would have had the ability to do that or not. You could have, like I said, restructured. Maybe you don't get the full amount of what they were having to pay each month. Maybe you'll take a certain portion of that just to continue to keep them paying. So that would have been something that you could have done as a note investor through this pandemic. So again, want to give this information. Hopefully it gives people something to think about, maybe look at it a little bit differently, and maybe go down the note investing route. If you do want to do that, please reach out to me. My telephone number is 973-475-8488, or you can email me at acg@abundantcapitalgroup.com. So like I said, in regards to this, we're just going to show you the difference between some pros and cons between rental properties and note investing. So with rental properties, you're getting a monthly income, and you are hoping that there's going to be property appreciation. We all know that the market has cycles. Right now, we're in a cycle where prices are going up, up, up. And if you did own something, maybe it's a good time to sell. I mean, obviously, If you did sell and you needed to buy something else, you would, most likely be paying premium price or if not more for a property. But, that's a topic for another discussion. But, the two things that you're looking for is the monthly income and property appreciation. Um, Also, as a rental property owner, um, you have ownership liabilities and responsibilities with that property. So, in order to get this monthly income and property appreciation, you're having to deal with the responsibilities of maintenance and liabilities. If anything happens on a particular property, you are ultimately responsible. Your insurance company can hold you liable for certain things if things happen on the particular property. Um, if the water heater goes on a property, and we're talking about any type of rental property. It could be a single family, it could be a multifamily, it could be, a big apartment building. It's all under that rental property umbrella. So, um, you still have those liabilities and the responsibility of replacing anything. Something goes wrong with the floor, window breaks, backed up kitchen sink, toilet, whatever the case may be. You have to obviously either go out yourself and fix that issue, or you're going to have to pay someone to do that. Also, while you're owning the property, there's a certain amount of money that you have to put aside for, some upkeep on the property. Will it need a new roof down the line? Does it need to be painted? Do the apartments need to be painted? If it is a multifamily, or even if it's a single family, um, at some point you may have to freshen up, each unit or the one unit or whatever the case may be. So um, you still have those things as a rental property owner in terms of responsibilities and liabilities that you have to deal with. Legal, as I mentioned, with the pandemic, a lot of property owners have been, having to, going to have to go after their tenants for their money. Um, and will that happen even if you do get a judgment? Is that person making, a certain amount of money where you can get that judgment paid off, and then how much a month or whatever the judgment is, or how much of that is going to really be able to be paid to you on a monthly basis. So you have some issues there in terms of having to sue tenants and go after them personally for what they owe you if they do stop paying rent. Um, Also, you have to, if the tenant finds you negligent, you could get sued for something. Um, you may own multiple properties and have a management company in place, but something fell through the cracks, and you can be held liable if something does, happen on that particular property. So that's another thing that you have to think about as a rental property owner, something that could, uh, affect you down the line as you own this particular property is the legal side of things and suing and being in getting sued. Um, as a rental property owner, obviously you have to deal with the tenants. A lot of people, we do a lot of background checks and seeing where they lived before and different things like that to find out who this particular person, is and how they conduct themselves. But, things change. Life happens to people. People aren't the same today as they are, maybe a year from now, 10 months from now, 6 months from now. So you do have to deal, with those tenants, them calling you, telling you, I need this fixed. I can't, make this particular payment right now. I need an extension. You have to deal with all that stuff as a rental property owner. Um, Monthly expenses. We kind of talked about it a little bit, but you're responsible for the water. You're responsible a lot of times for the electricity. The heat, hot water, and things like that. Usually, sometimes in certain situations it is separate and you give it to the tenants. But a lot of times, um, it is the owner's responsibility to continue to make that payment. Um, and those monthly expenses obviously eat into the cash flow. A lot of people, looking at making, $1,000, $1,500, over and above what's on the mortgage. But when you start to put in the expenses, the maintenance expenses, on a monthly basis, are you having someone come by and take care of the grass, take care of the grounds, um, paying the water, the taxes? You're responsible for that, even though a lot of times it may be in your mortgage payment, but you have to factor in that, that is an expense that needs to be paid. Um, and overall, just other expenses that come up on a property. So out of that, amount that's over and above what your mortgage is, how much, how much do the expenses eat into that? And so that's something that you have to, definitely keep into consideration. And then again, like I said, down the line there could be additional expenses. You don't have the same expenses in year one on a rental property as you probably do in year 4, 5, 6, or however long you've had the property, because you have to, maybe do some things to it, fix something up, change something, whatever the case may be. So, those expenses can add up. And I know a lot of times when we look at rental properties, a lot of times we usually take anywhere from about 60 to 70% of the rental income. That 30 to 40% goes to expenses. And then that's kind of what your quote unquote cash flow is on that particular property. So just depending on, who you are and how you look at your, how you figure out your numbers. But to be safe, you probably want to take about, you know, 35 to 40% in terms of, off of what you're going to get, to go towards expenses. And then sometimes the cash flow can be positive or negative, just depending on, again, those expenses, how someone pays you. Are they late? Do they make it up? Do they miss months? Um, you have to kind of look at it, after the first year and see how much money, did this property cash flow like I predicted it to. And sometimes it, unfortunately, it could go negative if something happens in the property within that first year that you own it. Or even if it doesn't happen in the first year, year 4 or 5, if I have to replace the roof, if I have to replace something significant on the property, my cash flow it may be negative because of that expense that I had to put out, and what I've collected in terms of rent may not have covered that. So, this is the rental side of things. And then now I'm going to talk about on the note side of things. You still get monthly income, because you are the bank. You're a lien holder. You're a lien lord, is what some people say. So you still get the same. You still get cash flow, but you do not get the property appreciation. The reason being is because any of the equity or the appreciation of the property will go to the actual owner of the property who's on the deed. Because when you do a note, um, the bank, you as the investor are going to be the bank, and then you're creating financing for the owner of the property who's going to then pay you on a monthly basis. So they're technically the owner of the property. And then, you can also do it in a way where you can be the legal owner of the property, as well as, and have somebody in the property that is paying you. And then once they finish paying you, then they become the legal owner of the property. So it's usually called a contract for deed. And in New Jersey, they do that. You can set it up that way. So if you're having issues with that particular person, you are still technically the owner of the property, and you can get them out probably a lot quicker than having to go through a foreclosure. But again, that's another topic for another day. But you're not getting that you're not getting that property appreciation, because that is going to go to the actual owner of the home. But a lot of times, because when we write a note, we can actually write it where we usually can write it in a fashion where it's at peak price. I'll say that, at the top of the market, or maybe slightly above it. So we've kind of already built in, some appreciation there. But as it goes up from the point that you created the note, that will then go to the homeowner. But the trade-off is that you don't have any of those liabilities or those responsibilities that we talked about. When you're a homeowner, somebody watching this is probably a homeowner. When the window breaks, the floor gets damaged, the toilet backs up, you don't call Bank of America, you don't call Wells Fargo, do you? No, you have to fix it yourself. But they expect that payment to come in every month. So, and that's the role that you're going to play as the note investors. That monthly payment is still going to come into you, but you don't have responsibility, for that particular property during that time period. Um, and then also, and sometimes appreciation may or may not happen. And right now, we're in a place where appreciation is going, skyrocketing. But at some point, it's going to, go down. It's going to not be at the same levels that it is now. And if you purchased a home during this particular time, what is your equity going to look like maybe in 3 years, 5 years? It's probably going to be it's going to go down most likely, because this market cannot last forever. Like anything else, you have peaks and valleys, so it has to kind of go into a valley at some point. And then how much equity do you lose at that particular point, or appreciation, I should say? So you may or may not get it, just depending on um, when you buy a home. And so as a note investor, I mean, you really don't have to, you don't really have to think about that or play the market that way. You can just buy a note whenever, or create a note whenever you want. And that appreciation, like I said, you can kind of build in it. You have no legal issues, besides having to obviously foreclose. If something happens with that particular borrower that's in the property, that's probably the only thing that you're going to have to do. And a lot of times when life happens to people, if you go and talk to them and try to work with them, you don't necessarily have to go through that foreclosure process. There's things that can be worked out. You can do a cash for keys. Somebody had some difficulty in their life. You say, hey, look, just doesn't look like you're going to be able to afford this. If you leave the property in a certain condition, we'll give you X amount of dollars to help you move to your next place. And then they get the keys and they sign the house back over to you. So a lot of times you don't have to, go through that whole lengthy foreclosure process, or even that eviction process as a note investor. Sometimes you do, of course. You have people that'll just try to stay in your property forever, and you have to do what you have to do. But as that lien holder, as the bank, you can really reach out and kind of work with people. You can readjust numbers. Maybe they're just not making quite as much money as they once were. Something happened. The person, maybe it was two incomes, now it's down to one, like it was, a lot of times happened in COVID. You could go to them and try to restructure this note and get them back paying. So you can do a lot more as the note investor, if issues arise, and that should hopefully keep you out of the legal system and suing people and doing everything like that. You have no more tenants. These people are buyers. Who takes better care of a property, tenants or buyers? Usually a buyer has more money invested in a property, so that gives them more incentive to take care of the property. And then again, as we talked about with appreciation, if somebody has been in the property, and let's say they bought it last year, and then now this year, they're talking 20-25% appreciation on properties. Does somebody just really want to walk away from that? That's a homeowner? Most likely not. And then as the lien holder, if they do decide to sell because they're going into some issues, you'll get paid, a lump sum, if they do sell the property or if they refinance the property or whatever, you're still owed a lump sum of the unpaid balance on that particular note. So they're most likely, going to take better care of the property and, not have all of the same issues that a tenant would. Would a tenant walk away from a $2,000 security deposit or $2,500? Most likely they would. But when you're putting down thousands of dollars on a property that you own technically, from a deed standpoint, and it has increased in it's appreciated, it's going to be tough just to walk away from that. So you have a different mindset from a tenant and a buyer, or a homeowner, I should say. There's a totally different mindset there. And that's why, again, as a note investor, that's what you want. You want somebody that cares about the property, is going to take care of the property, and do right by the property. And you have no expenses as a note holder. You don't pay water, you don't pay anything, you don't pay taxes, you don't pay. The most that you may pay is a servicing fee to a servicing company to collect the payments. A lot of times that's less than $50 a month. Probably anywhere between, $30 to $50 a month. I'm sure there may be some companies out there that may charge a little bit more, but on average, that's what they'll charge you to make sure that they're collecting payments and it gets deposited in your account. Other than that, you don't have any expenses. Now you'll get into maybe some other expenses if you do have to take the property back and if you want to put money into it and things like that. But initially, you don't have any expenses like you would as a rental property owner. And then the cash flow. You probably can get the same, if not more, cash flow from the note side of it as you can on a rental property. Again, because of those no expenses, all that money is just coming directly to you. And like I said, if you look at it on a year-to-year basis, did you really get cash flow in a particular year because you had to make some repair or something like that? So these are the differences that I just wanted to kind of go through between, being a rental property owner and being a note investor. Hopefully you'll see some of the advantages on the note side. And, if you have any questions, please post them, in the comment section. I'll get them answered for you. Or again, you can reach out to me. My telephone number is 973-475-8488. And the email is acg@abundantcapitalgroup.com. Name of our company is Abundant Capital Group. So you can, go online. We are www.abundantcapitalgroup.com. Or just reach out to me directly if you'd like to talk further about your rental property situation. And a lot of times you can turn your rental property into a note, whether you have a mortgage on it or not. Whether it's free and clear or you still have an existing mortgage, you can, create a note on a property if you want to get rid of these liabilities and responsibilities and just want to get the cash flow. So there are ways to do that, and we can talk about, your individual situation and see, what works best for you. So with that being said, it's been just about, 24 minutes. So like I said, we usually try to keep these to about 15, 20 minutes. So we went a little bit longer, but, hopefully there's some good information. Reach out to me if you'd like to talk further. Have a good rest of your day.